Hey, this is Alex with Couch.com, and I am super happy to bring my new buddy Travis here from Medley. You told me in our pregame that you can dunk a basketball, but maybe not anymore.
That was confidential, but yeah,
Oh, I'm
sure.
so sorry.
No, no. No,
What
no.
would it
Please
take to
spread the
get you to
word.
dunk?
Spread the word, please.
So I've known about Medley for a long time because I used to run the brand department 2B, and technically we used to be competitors. But it's been great to get to know you a little bit over our last few conversations. I'm excited for you to tell everybody at Couch.com what you do, because one thing I can tell everybody watching this right now is that Medley's a very good, reputable company run by very reputable people and very good people like yourself. Like, the opposite of like sneaky Al's used car lot. You are very, you are an upstanding individual.
I appreciate the kind words. Yeah, there's always a human behind every company, and so
That's funny you say that, because
it's good to
that's
get to
why
know
I
you.
think this is valuable,
Yeah, it's just good to get to know you as well, because they're saying like there's so much overlap. So it's fun to kind of go back over the years and compare stories and the deep dives of all things furniture.
Yeah, we've both been at it for a long time before people were really buying much furniture online, but maybe we'll get to that later. The bigger question is, what is Medley? And tell us about your business.
Yeah, it is a furniture company. We do focus primarily on upholstery, so sofas, sectionals, more like the big ticket items versus sort of accent pieces. And our big focal point is trying to kind of reconnect people with natural materials and the environment, and kind of bringing that into their home and reshaping how furniture's made in some ways in terms of the materials and processes. Kind of a combination of a lot of old school craftsmanship techniques with some newer technologies that's come around that we feel like is being underutilized. And big picture, thinking of the home as a space for comfort, and not only just physical comfort, but like being comfortable with what you're bringing into your home and with your family. And it's a space that is super important to people, and they're, especially in the living room, right? They're there almost every day, and the bedroom, same thing. And so we really wouldn't trying to think about how we are bringing products into the world, thinking about the long-term impact for the people and the environment.
That's so awesome. And I know from personal experience running a furniture brand where we produced couches and did our absolute best to use sustainable materials and have eco-friendly manufacturing processes. We were chasing that for a long time. It is not easy.
No.
So, like, explain to me and everybody listening, like, what does it take to do that? Like, because certainly you must have been tempted by cutting corners here and there. Like,
Yeah.
what does it actually mean to execute on that vision? Like, how do you do it?
Like you're saying, it really is a matter of patience and perseverance, and not cutting corners, because being in the manufacturing facilities that we partner with, all the different decisions that are made, every little material, every layer, a lot of stuff that people don't even see, right? Especially with something like a sofa. A dining table is fairly straightforward in terms of what it is. We make everything with solid wood. If you put a finish on it, it's a lot of hand sculpting, that kind of thing. Sofas, you can take a nice photo, but what's underneath is really important for us. And so it's really about, I think, being diligent and having a specific sort of bar for every little piece of material and craftsmanship point in there. And it shows people that get our pieces of furniture, they literally say things like, "Oh, furniture is just not made like this anymore." And so it takes a lot of discipline to do that, because it is expensive and people are willing to pay for that. And as a business owner and as a brand, if you drop your prices, you can appeal for more people's budgets, which we always are trying to do when we can. But we also kind of know what those compromises might lead to. And for us, we're really focused on bringing in pieces that are going to last as long as you want them to, 10, 20 years more, that kind of thing. So.
Well, honestly, like, I know how much a lot of these, what you just described actually costs.
Yeah.
And I've always been really surprised and amazed in some ways, like how you guys are able to achieve keeping your prices as low as they are. I mean,
Yeah.
it's certainly not Bob's Discount Furniture.
Right.
not
Yeah.
bargain basement prices.
Yeah.
It's, these are expensive pieces for most people, but at the same time, you see far more expensive pieces of furniture out there. Restoration hard. You see things that are like thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, and they're probably not made as well. Is there a way that your stuff could be made like is there a limit that you're like, okay, well, if we go too far with this, if we
Yeah.
have our foam imported from Sweden, then we're going to have to
Yes. Yes.
like, how do you draw
Yeah.
the line?
Yeah, it's a good question because we do make some decisions around that where, I mean, generally speaking, almost all the way through inside out, we are choosing the best available option. I think a lot of it is, the classic DTC story of when we're not wholesaling, we can keep prices a lot more reasonable than we would have to mark them up a lot more. And we're not trying to be an uber luxury brand where we're attaching some like famous designer and having massive showrooms that are very gorgeous to be in, but also very overhead intensive. And so I think for us, a lot of it is just like being very focused on specific products and categories and partnerships that allow us to be pretty streamlined with our team and our offerings. And that I think helps keep the costs contained a bit. And it's something where we still feel like you're saying what we're offering, it's still a really, really fair value. But yeah, it's a lot of trial and error through this whole process. And doing this about 18 years, you just test things out. And sometimes we have an idea, we'll try it, we're nimble, where everything's made to order, and we'll give it a run and do a prototype. It's like, oh, that doesn't work. Like, we're not happy with that. And then we kind of move on. But through those innovations, we'll piece together a combination of things that really works well for the end user.
That's a great point. So I think you talked about having this very specific focus. It's not a singular focus because you guys cover a number of different categories, but it's a specific focus. I was literally just talking about this today, like how specificity can bring so much value to all facets of a business. Like when you really hyper focus on a product, not diversifying too much, going out of your lane, you're, more focused, more creative, more invested in the details.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, as you just described, another great point, more cost effective. Like you're not spending all this time and energy in all these different areas. You're really focused on what you guys do best. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gets tempting to try to break out and do more and more. And we certainly offer other things besides sofas and sectionals, but even with going outside of the core categories for us of couches, that it's still pretty focused. And if something we bring to market and it doesn't work and the pricing's too high, or we're just not happy with the outcome, we'll cut it quickly. And that is an advantage of doing the made to order model, is that we don't have to invest in a bunch of products up front and then hope that it connects with people. We can roll it out, get feedback, and then make little iterations. And we're constantly refining things based off of customer feedback, sending surveys, that kind of thing. And that's, I think, really helps over the course of months and then years to where you get this final product that's pretty well optimized.
I love it. And you just talked about customer feedback. I know what it takes to be successful in a national furniture distribution company. Mm-hmm. It is not easy. There's so much that goes into it. You're shipping expensive products all across the country. Every single one of us uses multiple third-party shipping providers. It's very difficult to maintain control. Things do go wrong. Explain some of the ways that you guys take great care of your customers. How do you deal with issues when they come up? I mean, I think for a lot of online buyers are concerned about like, what's going to happen? Is this a brand that's going to take care of me if I don't like something, or if the shipping company, throws it off a bridge? I mean, I don't know. These things don't happen that often, so don't get scared, everybody. But it's, they do happen. It's furniture.
Yeah, you're right. It's a big piece. It's a big investment for people. It takes a bit of time for this made to order. So there's a lot of touch points along the way. I think part of our approach is really focused on making sure that people get the piece that they want. And so we offer really good free design services with in-house interior designer, obviously the free samples. Throw us whatever kind of questions you have. Send us photos of your living room and a blueprint of the new house. Like whatever element it is you're kind of considering, we'll help walk you through and pick the best fit in terms of the comfort, the style, the color, the fabric, in terms of if you have pets or kids, or if you want to go with a bold color, whatever that is. And so by the time people purchase, our goal is for them to really have taken that time and not rushed, and then get something that they're excited about and it's going to work perfectly for space. That being said, if something goes wrong, being that kind of small, nimble, human-focused company, I think it does resonate. We get feedback all the time that when customers interact with our team, they're just surprised at how knowledgeable they are, how much time and energy they'll put into each use case in terms of if it's like a damaged leg that we were replacing or whatever the case is, however minor or major, like we'll work to do whatever we can to make sure ultimately the customer is happy long term. Like our goal isn't to just get a sale and then it shows up and then, hey, we did our job. It's like, no, this is investment, both time and money. And so, we want people to be really happy with it. If they're not, then we'll just jump in and kind of do whatever we can to make it right.
If anybody saw anything but authenticity in what you just said, I completely disagree. It really feels like you care, and I can see that because like I ran our company the same way.
Yeah.
We invested in customer care big time, and it paid off, right? Like it pays off in reputation, it pays off in karma and good vibes, energetically, whatever you want to, however you think about it.
Yeah.
It really pays to take in this business a hands-on approach.
Yeah. We've always had that philosophy, and it takes a certain mindset up front to kind of like hold that line all the way through all the different times you're communicating with each order. So
I was listening to a podcast recently where someone was talking about customer care, a completely different industry. I don't even know what it was. And they phrased it as a mindset. It's funny you just said that. People who are successful in business of selling big ticket items or anything online are the ones that can humble themselves enough to realize that they really do need to take care of other people in this process too. When it comes down to customers spending thousands of dollars, like the best approach is usually the most hands-on, like the personal one, the real people one, right?
Take the extra time to and it makes a big difference. Just people call and just chat with someone on the phone talking about all kinds of details of how excited they're about the new space and that whole process. And then by that time they actually get it, like they almost feel like they know the people that they've been working with to get the sofa. And then we also use that feedback if something doesn't go well, where we do reporting all the time to kind of try to learn from that and again make changes so that every little iteration we're doing, things can get refined. And some products were just dialed in and they haven't changed in 5 years. And other ones are like still making little tiny tweaks that a lot of people don't even necessarily notice, but we know that it's like one step closer to that product that we want to have for many years ahead.
Well, that's a good jumping off point to my next question. I know from being in the furniture industry for quite some time that like my friends and family, they don't know anything about furniture.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the point of couch.com is really trying to help people, give them a little bit more insights, literally why we're talking right now, to make people feel a little bit more connected to an industry that generally they don't feel very connected to.
Yeah.
And I guess my question to you is like, what's one thing or some things that you think would be really interesting for customers to know that they have no idea about?
Yeah. One element is, I think the combination of some of the technological developments that have come along in terms of the materials, CNC machines, that kind of thing. But still, even with that, how much manual, craftsmanship there still is to put these pieces together, the many, many hours and different people involved at the different stages. And so I think there's so many things, you see like these videos of cars, right? They're so complex and it's just so many robots and everything's like, like these like pieces are really made by hand from scratch. You tell us what filling you want, the sizing, the fabric, and then they're building these frames by hand and piecing everything together, and everything is really in tune with the human element, even though there have been some developments. And part of that then is, I think surprising for people how expensive making furniture, especially in the US, really is. And a lot of that is just not the materials element, but also just the having, the skilled labor to make it the way that we do. And even with the materials that we're using, like the natural latex and the wool and these kinds of things that are replacing a lot of the more standard synthetic pieces and materials, those are expensive. And those we have to learn how to build with that, because we're really only one of maybe like one or two companies using these materials in the entire country. And so there's just a lot that goes into it. And people, by the time they get to it, I hope that they kind of sense the all the love and time and care and skill that goes into these pieces, because it, being there on the floor, seeing it, it's impressive.
Totally agree. I think that's a great answer. Like the factories that produced for us at Apartment 2B, you go around and it was unbelievable how many people
Yeah.
work there and how few machines there are.
All the layers and the assembling and the fine tuning and it's all by hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And that's something fun that, I really enjoy that part of running the business. I do spend a lot of time, on my computer and inbox and all that, but it's so cool to have a tangible product that's out in the world that you can see, and it's, you come up with these designs and have these ideas, and then to actually be on the floor and seeing people's homes. It's cool. It never gets old. 18 years later, it's still fun to see these products come to life in a literal way. It's very satisfying.
You've worked in the furniture industry 18 years. That's a long time. Why don't you have more gray hair?
I just trimmed it all off on the side.
I've done that trick before. That mixed with the Just for Men, I have it on tap basically in the back of my bathroom.
Yeah. It's 18 years. 2005 when the first idea was doing customizable furniture online. It really wasn't an option for people back then.
So is that your origin? Yeah, tell me how you got into the business.
Yeah, I was with my older brother. We were living together in LA, and we're still partners in this. This many years later, different versions, different companies, and different brands over the years. Medley being the most recent one, but back in the day, we started our own collection in 2005 with the idea of, instead of big, oversized showrooms with a lot of uniformity amongst the pieces, like, hey, let's flip that and invert it and use a website for people to actually customize and create their own piece, and then we'll build it for you and ship it out. And we were probably like 10 years too early with some of these ideas, but ever since then, we've been kind of, rolling out different versions of it, including layering all the eco-friendly solutions that we have. But it's been cool to see the industry shift and change over the years.
Big time. And yeah, I started a few years after you, but just to give everybody context of how long Travis has been in the business, back then, like there wasn't even any place to advertise online. Like no one had even figured out online advertising. Maybe there was, but there wasn't like Google ads, Facebook ads. Like it just wasn't a thing. Like our first ad was on TV, local TV. And that was in 2011. So
yeah, let alone a website and the renderings, like all that stuff that now we take for granted, just literally wasn't available, to even like bring this stuff to life. So there's even bigger leap of faith from our earlier customers in those days of like, no, trust me, this is a real piece of furniture. It's going to be good. But, now we're able to kind of tell that story a little bit better and bring it to life. But it's been a journey for sure over the years.
I love it. Well, I got a fun one for you. So there are a lot of design trends over the years that I've seen and like will get like sort of presented, or like factory manager be like, hey, what do you think about this? And be like, no, please no. Or like I was at the Vegas Furniture Market, which is a big convention where everybody, sort of sells their wares in this industry. And I always walk around and like you start to see certain trends, like this chunky corduroy is something that I never thought would come back. Are you guys doing any chunky corduroy yet?
We're not, but the 90s are back, so it's from the pants to the sofa, apparently.
I guess. No, are there any trends that you've been particularly afraid of or had to avoid, or anything that's on your mind?
The idea of very like a lot of floral prints and a lot of skirts and different things like on the framing and very overstuffed. I get it that it's like very cozy and warm feeling, but I think kind of for us, we want to have something that's a bit more timeless and a bit easier to fold into different styles for people and kind of, have that longevity piece that we talk about. So far holding off on that trend.
Have any of your fabric suppliers pitched to you monster fur yet?
No, I haven't heard that term. I can assume what you're talking about, but I've seen some of like the accent chairs with like it's just like it looks like Snuffleupagus from Sesame Street or something.
They should just call it Snuffleupagus.
Yeah. So we definitely have some some chunkier fabrics and some boucles and things with some nice texture to it, but so far I haven't gone for the full. I think like shearling is another one that comes around. I get it though for certain accent pieces. I think it totally makes sense, but. If I was going to think about like sitting down and watching a movie or something on a sofa for that long, I feel like it might be a bit too
Sweaty?
a bit too much hair going on there.
Too much hair. I love it. All right. Here's my last question for you. And thank you so much for all your time.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen as many buttons on one shirt. Now I'm going to set the over under at
Yeah.
9 buttons. Does your shirt have more than 9 buttons?
Let's see. I've never counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Oh, that seems
Just
a lot
short.
more standard than I.
Yeah.
But
Maybe that'll be the new trend in sofas. We just came up with it right now. It's just
oh my God,
extra buttons, just all the way down.
I think we just did it. Well, you're welcome, everybody listening. So there you have it. Medley's the company. Travis is the guy. Thank you so much for your time. I think your, genuine and authentic nature comes through. And just the fact that you're a nice person is really helpful, I think, for people to see that, as you said before, there are real people behind these brands, and we're not just like Instagram ads and robots and factories. Like, we really care. And I really appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks so much. I loved every bit of it.